Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. You're listening to the longest running superhero role playing game on Earth. I'm your host, the Game Master, and today we're talking about the High Evolutionary, Man Beast, Counter Earth, and just all sorts of stuff. But before we get into all that, smash like, make sure you're subscribed, ring the bell, and leave a comment. We've got a great community here, and it's all thanks to you guys. Thank you so much for being here. With all that said, let's dive in. Prologue to this one takes place in November of 1971, when the being known as Him crash lands on Counter Earth. Now, for those who don't know, Marvel has had multiple versions of Counter Earth that have appeared in various comic books, cartoons, and films. And while each one is a little bit different, we will be going with the version of Counter Earth from its first appearance back in Marvel Premiere issue number 1 from November of 1971. In that version, Counter Earth is the same distance from the sun as the Earth is, but it's on the exact opposite side of the sun where we can't see it. And while on Counter Earth there exists a counterpart of every human being, none of them are superheroes or supervillains. So, for instance, the Reed Richards of that Counter Earth is just a scientist with no stretching. His best friend is Victor Von Doom, who's not a villain. Likewise, on Counter Earth, Bruce Banner never became the Hulk, and Peter Parker was never bitten by a radioactive spider. So, as our story begins, the High Evolutionary is in space monitoring the events on Counter Earth. And one of the High Evolutionary's first creations was a villain that was part man and part wolf, and his name was the Man Beast. He goes to Counter Earth to kill, steal, and destroy. So Adam Warlock goes to Counter Earth to save it from Man Beast. And that brings us to the main plot of today's game session, which takes place in April of 1972. The being known as Her, aka Aisha, aka Paragon, knows of the existence of Adam Warlock and his self imposed exile to the stars. She concluded that her purpose was to mate with him to create a race of perfect beings. So when her cocoon was pulled from New York's East River, she emerges from it in the form of a beautiful woman with golden skin. She immediately sets off in search of Adam Warlock. Using her powers, she locates the player characters, who in this one are Drax the Destroyer, Gamora, Moondragon, and Pip the Troll. And together they journey to Counter Earth. When they get there, they find Adam Warlock being attacked by the New Men, which are these half animal, half man creations of the High Evolutionaries who had rebelled against him. And now they're led by Man Beast. So as Adam Warlock fights Man Beast, Drax the Destroyer attacks Ape Man, Gamora attacks Frogman, Her fights Rodan, aka Ratman, Moondragon attacks Catman, and Pip the Troll attacks Birdman. Player characters are considerably more powerful than their half man, half animal opponents are. So winning this fight is super easy, barely an inconvenience. Her approaches Adam Warlock once it's done, telling him that she is destined to be his Eve, and together they will bring about a perfect race. But before Warlock can say much of anything, a new enemy appears, Thanos. He walks up to the player characters and asks Adam Warlock about that green gem on his forehead. Thanos would like to know where he found it. Adam Warlock, who only recently began to recover from amnesia, is still perhaps too trusting. So he tells Thanos the High Evolutionary gave it to him. Thanos says that's very interesting and asks him where this High Evolutionary is now. And Warlock tells him a High Evolutionary can travel through time and space. He, for instance, was in the distant past when Counter Earth was formed. Thanos concludes that wherever Superman hid the Infinity Gems, this High Evolutionary must have found them. And perhaps it was the power of the gems that created this counter Earth. But to Thanos, the specifics matter not. He asks Warlock to give him the green gem. Warlock declines the request, and Thanos multi attacks them all with his 20 AP energy blast. He rolls a 7 and a 6, which is one column shift. Adam Warlock has a body of 12, so he takes exactly 12 points of damage and is knocked out. Drax has a body of 12. He takes 12 points of damage and he's knocked out. Gamora has a body of 9. She takes 14 points of damage, and now her body is at -5. So she's not only knocked out, she's slowly dying. Her has a body of 12, so she takes exactly 12 points of damage and is just knocked out. Moondragon has a body of 6 and a force field of 6, so she takes 12 points of damage, and she's on the verge of death. And finally, a profanity spewing, cigar smoking Pip the Troll has a body of 5. So he takes 17 points of damage and he is dead. Thanos then walks over to the body of Adam Warlock, where he intends to rip the green Infinity Gem off of Warlock's forehead. Just then, the High Evolutionary beams the player characters into the sick bay aboard his ship. The half animal, half humans who are still loyal to the High Evolutionary tend to the wounds of the injured, saving their lives. Meanwhile, Thanos is furious, so he teleports from Counter Earth to the High Evolutionary, which is an automatic action. Then, for his dice action, he shoots an energy blast at the High Evolutionary. But the High Evolutionary has a body of 27, and on top of that, he has skin armor of 21, raising his opposing value to 48 APs. So the energy blast has no hope of harming him. Thanos attacks several times, but he just can't get past the High Evolutionary's massive OV. So since Thanos can't hurt the High Evolutionary, he leaves. And that brings us to the epilogue. Thanos decides, since the High Evolutionary loves Counter Earth so much, he'll just kill everyone there. And he does. And with each kill, he says a prayer to death itself, who Thanos loves more than anything. Thanos sacrifices an entire planet in the hopes of gaining death's favor. He asks her, in return, to help him figure out how to get his hands on the Infinity Gems, promising that if he does, he will kill all life in the universe for her. But that's a story for another day. Anyways, we enjoyed this one. Hopefully you did too. If so, as always, smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed, ring the bell for notifications, and leave a comment. From all of us here at the longest running superhero RPG on Earth, we hope you guys have a great one, and we'll see you in the next adventure.